For an update. And Mbongeni, good afternoon to you. So this march, essentially a socio-economic march, what does it hope to achieve?
Well, on paper, it hopes to raise issues that Numsa feels strongly about at the moment, burning issues for them, issues of job losses, of course, especially in the manufacturing sector, the issues going on in steel, and also issues around corruption in state institutions and generally, in the country. But of course, the political undertone of this whole thing is also to show Numsa's strength, that it is still a strong force. You know about the long-running feud and rivalry between Numsa and COSATU at this stage. Numsa, of course, having been expelled from COSATU. COSATU had their own march last week. They marched through the streets of Johannesburg and elsewhere in the country. And Numsa will be wanting to demonstrate through this march that it is still, that actually it's a stronger force than COSATU. They are desperate to see bigger numbers here than the ones we saw at the COSATU march last week. The march got underway about 20 minutes ago. They left Mary Fitzgerald Square in Newtown, which is a few blocks down the road from here. They are now on their way to Beyers Naudé Square, where we are at the moment. And here they're going to be handing over a memorandum to the government. Initially they wanted to march to the Gauteng legislature, but they were told that it's not conducive, so they must come here. They are saying people from national departments like National Treasury are going to be here to receive the memorandum. In fact, I can hear them approaching. In fact, I can see them there. They are about to enter Beyers Naudé Square. I'm going to step out of the shot momentarily. Maybe you can just see them as they enter the square here. You can see the police cars, of course, protection services. There's the big truck with the leadership and, leading the songs and so on. And the crowds behind the truck there.
All right, so
they are arriving here now. From here, they'll be moving to...
So Mbongeni, sorry to just jump in there. You mentioned the numbers, and as we see the numbers there, the people arriving and the political undertone, the turnout of these marches is usually a good indication of the kind of support this action garners. So what kind of numbers are we looking at there today?
Well, according to my own assessment, the numbers are more or less the same as the turnout that we saw for the COSATU march here in Johannesburg. Of course, Numsa people were very quick to claim, even very early on, as people were still arriving, that, you can see already the numbers are bigger than what we saw last week, which, according to me, was not necessarily the case. According to my assessment, it's more or less the same, really, but of course, people will hype their own numbers and so on. But according to me, it's more or less the same as we saw at COSATU last week, Natasha.
And Mbongeni, by now, is there any idea, I know you mentioned this earlier, that political undertone, is there any idea that this breakaway faction, once with COSATU, is being taken seriously? Well,
there's another issue here about this march. I think Numsa, with this march, also wants to mobilize for... You remember Numsa, since the whole COSATU fallout began, even before they were expelled, they were talking about establishing a united front, which was going to be like a civil society formation, organizing in communities and so on, raising community issues. It's more than a year, maybe close to 2 years, they've been talking about that, and it hasn't taken off the ground. Since they've been expelled from COSATU, they've been talking about either fighting to reclaim COSATU, as they call it. If that fails, establishing an alternative labor federation. They've been talking about, until now, they've been mobilizing for that, but they are yet to launch that alternative federation. I believe next week the NEC of Numsa will sit to discuss exactly that maybe now it's time to forget about trying to reclaim COSATU and actually launch this federation. And at the same time, Numsa has been talking about establishing a workers' party. A lot of initiatives that they've been talking about, which so far have not really taken off the ground. So this march is part of mobilizing for that. They have bussed in people from Limpopo, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest Province to come and attend this march. They've paid around 250,000 rands to PRASA to transport people from different parts of the Gauteng province to come and attend this march. So there is a mobilization effort underway as part of this march. Zolinzi Mavavi, of course, who is a very big ally of Numsa, is here, is part of this march. He actually gave an address to the crowds before they left Mary Fitzgerald Square. So a big part of it is about that, mobilizing for these initiatives that they've been talking about. Natasha.
All right, Mugeni, thanks. We'll have to leave it there. We will, of course, get updates from you coming up in our later bulletins. That's our reporter, Mugeni Mutwa, live from Johannesburg, covering that Numsa march protesting job losses and corruption.